Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of The Outer Worlds. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you chose to join me today in Rosewell? What is the name of the city? Ember Heights, actually. Why did I say Rose? What was Rose? Well, I need to talk to Graham Bryant and Zara Blackwood, because they're the last named characters that we have yet to talk to. Drink efficiently. I mean, I suppose that's a fair advice. Hi. Excuse me?
A stranger comes to our home. If you're looking for a path to walk, you've found one. If you're looking for a teacher, I am one. Welcome to the Iconoclasts.
I am very glad to meet you. Yes, these guys are gonna teach us all about the iconoclastism and all that sort of stuff. I expected more altars or incense or both. What do you teach?
The truth that I have come to learn and embrace since shedding the corporate yoke. Out here, we survive by the sheer strength of our spirit. We have no need for the endless rules and red tape of a corporate structure.
We do seem to burn through endless ammunition and medical tape, though.
Yes, well, such is life. Our descendants will enjoy safety and luxury, but our generation is the foundation on which that future is built. Now, why have you come?
I want to know more about your teachings.
Awakening is available to all whose minds are ready to accept it. What would you like to know?
I hear the word eternal thrown around a lot. What is it?
Ah, the eternal. We are all part of the consciousness of the cosmos. Each of us plays a tiny role in the universe's continual journey toward understanding itself. You and I, and the rats and the mantis swarms. Divinity is in us all. And the eternal is that divinity.
So, I see motes of the, I forget Max's scientism? Whatever it is. I see motes of that as well, in regards to the sort of all-encompassing one truth, which is not necessarily a very common... I mean, it's not that it's uncommon in real-world religions, but it's just for it to be at the center point of religion. I believe Hinduism is like that, and certainly Abrahamic religions are not like that. And historically, things like Norse mythology or Roman mythology and other religions like that, they also are not like that. It's an interesting thing that they both share the same structure effectively, and also that he would just put that like front and center. No, he didn't actually put that front and center. To be fair, I asked specifically about the eternal, so the game is putting it front and center, mostly because it was the first option. But yeah, even OSI, are their members similarly divine?
Everyone, regardless of ability to believe, is another facet of the universe contemplating its own existence.
So what do you mean by awakening?
The point of no return. When your mind fully opens to the eternal truth. Every philosophist experiences it along the path to enlightenment. For many, it is the first brush with the cold of death, when they realize that all of their lives have boiled down into the single truth of that moment. Mine was witnessing my friend and colleague transform into the very evil we sought to combat. Now he runs MSI, just like the overlords before him.
I love it. It's good. It's good writing. I think. Maybe. Hopefully. Let's hope that the game pulls through. Now, there's an immediate contradiction. And I love it because it is there, front and center again. And I wonder if you noticed it, fair, amazing viewer. So the contradiction here is that I specifically asked about what this awakening is, and he says, the point of no return. That's what he says. And then he goes on to explain that. But then, for himself, was seeing somebody else return. My friend and colleague. Maybe not. Maybe it isn't a contradiction, actually. Aw, I wanted a contradiction. That'd be nice. Apparently, he's not contradicting himself. So, he saw his friend and colleague turn into a corporate slave or whatever. They were slave. But corporate slave is not the term here. Lackey might be. And I believe he's referring to Sanjar. Might be wrong on that. But they weren't philosophists before. He became one, and his friend wasn't. But my first impression was that they were both philosophists, and his friend just betrayed. And that was my impression because I was thinking of hoping. I was thinking of saying and hoping that I would get a line for that to ask him if people stop being philosophists, because that sort of counters this thing. I think it's just this is grandiose speech. It's not. It's hyperbole. I don't think it is really that the awakening. I think another way of him saying these three sentences, but not nearly as grandiose, would be, nah, it's just when we start believing philosophist stuff. That's basically what it means. So Sanjar, yeah. So Sanjar betrayed you. You turned to religion, and now here we are. Yeah, it is very much a religion. But he also hasn't showed me. It's like, what is there a point to your religion? Because I thought there was. And now here we are. Let's ask that.
I suppose that's one way to look at it. Another is that misfortune often brings opportunity. I found my path through the tragedies of my past.
Yeah, in hindsight, that works really nicely. It's just you can't generalize and say that it works all the time like that. And before I say this next sentence, let me say two things. First off, you don't need a god in religion. You can have religions that are atheists. Atheistic, I believe, though, because you can't mix the terms willy-nilly. Atheistic is different from atheist. But anyway, you can have religions without gods. They're still religious. There were religions, but it's because what defines a religion is a dogma rather than a pantheon or gods or whatever you want to call them. But another thing that I also want to say is that a god doesn't necessarily have to be a creator, and vice versa. The creator doesn't necessarily have to be a god. I just mentioned the Roman religions. I'm not 100% sure how it is in the Roman religion, or Roman mythology, or whatever. I don't actually know how it's called. Is it just paganism? I think it is just called paganism, because paganism these days is called neo-paganism, which is different, and although is inspired sometimes by Roman religion. Anyway, I know the Greeks were like that. The Greek gods were not the creators, and the correct name for the creator is if I don't actually remember. I'm so sorry. I will look. I know. I remember. Demiurge is the name. Is the term. Demiurge is the creator. That's the term. But anyway, with that preamble, because sometimes writers, and specifically Obsidian has sent me into long rants in Pillars of Eternity about the distinction. With that, I'm going to ask, do you believe in a creator?
Not in the sense of a single entity, fashioning the universe as a whittler fashions a flute. The universe came into being over time, organically, naturally, and without purpose. In that sense, I suppose you could say that, in the interest of finding its purpose, the universe itself created all living things.
Whoa. I think I just felt my brain kick into a higher gear. Is this what you folks call enlightenment?
If it were only that easy, my delightfully eager friend. You've taken but one step on our long and arduous, but ultimately fulfilling, path toward the eternal truth. Go ahead.
Never mind.
All right.
Yeah. So, needless to say, since I mentioned the Greeks, The creators of the Greeks, I think, were the Titans. And they didn't fashion it out of a flute or whatever he said. And also they were just a race of people. I think it were the Titans. I'm not sure if it was the Centaurs, though. Because there's a bunch of Machies or Machias or whatever. There's like 4 strata yeah, strata is the plural of stratus. There's 4 strata to the mythology. It's very complicated and very amusing as well. Amusing as in entertaining, I suppose. Tell me about the iconoclasts.
I heard about you. You're trying to change the colony, right? Transform the soul and character of Halcyon.
Right you are, my boy. Soon every man, woman, and child will experience their own spiritual awakening under my guidance. The iconoclasts are free folk. We live under our rules, motivated by our own beliefs, all petals on the same flower of enlightenment. Meanwhile, the board strangles the will of its workers. It is the penultimate exercise of a poisoned society where people are enslaved by a corporate ladder. We seek to replace their way of life with ours. Philosophism is the key to unlocking their shackles.
I'm trying to, in my head as he says this, I'm trying different approaches to his, to what he's saying. Trying to see it from a political perspective, or trying to see it from a religious perspective, from a pragmatic perspective. And I'm also trying to see what the heck the writers were trying to come up with. And I was looking at his stuff. Is that bullets? I think those are bullets. And it's like an interesting character, to be sure. And also I was just delighted, and I am delighted in the color of his whatever this is. It's a great thing. I want that. Anyway, yeah, well, speaking of the political approach that I was thinking of while he was saying that, I was trying to see if he comes across as an anarchist. I don't believe he does, though, and specifically because he's just trying. So that might be part of the commentary, as it often is, especially coming, I would say, from American writers. Not Obsidian. Actually, Brian Mitsoda in Vampire Bloodlines has a little bit of that. Brian Mitsoda is not at Obsidian right now. He's different. He's working in Bloodlines too. Anyway, the point is, I don't think he comes across. He's not a commentary on anarchism. And so, from what I've seen, I have to agree. Anarchy would be better. Yeah, I don't. Is it English? Does English not distinguish between anarchy as the result of anarchism and anarchy that is just anarchic? Does English not have that distinction? I wonder. Or did it lose it after centuries of the muddling? Is this why the board has cordoned Monarch off?
Oh, yes. Gunships hover in our skies, ready for the day they decide to come to our doors waving banners of war. The perception of visionaries is often tainted by the lies of their oppressors. A sad state of affairs, to be sure.
Oh, yeah. I've heard people mention an quote, Amber Heights massacre, unquote. What happened?
I'm sorry. As long as it's been, I'd still rather not speak of it. That was a painful day for us all.
I can only imagine. I'm sorry I asked.
It's fine. Perhaps someday I'll be strong enough to recall that tragedy, but today is not that day.
Never mind then.
Why have you come?
Yeah, it's complicated. I have some questions for you, more?
All right.
No. It's basically...
Why have you come?
I'll be going now, because I need to talk to your friend over here. Sora.
Nice day, huh? A monarch, anyway.
I suppose. She doesn't talk? Hi. That's a scar and a half. So, her brow is different. I was looking at her nose, trying to see if they're modeled to be siblings. But they're not. Even I forget their certain names. Because she kind of, that nose and the color of the hair and the color of the skin was very similar. And I was like, are you guys siblings? Anyway.
The cool evening air refreshes my spirit and brings only the faintest hint of sulfur.
It's good to have only the faintest hint of sulfur. Hyrum needs you to stop using devil speak.
Stop? No. Spreading the truth is the only way to combat the board's poisonous campaign of propaganda against their people.
Oof. It is not. You're never gonna get anywhere, for one. Because it isn't. And also... Well, I guess it's weird that they would say that, though. It's kind of interesting. Because they have, like, all these armed people going around. I think those are bullets. I still think those are bullets. They look like syringes to me. Sure. He's not one for armed revolution, apparently. Where I really thought he was going to be that sort of... It's interesting that he says that. Do you really think the board is going to let its citizens listen to your propaganda? Also, it's technically correct to say propaganda, because it is. Propaganda is not a morally weighted term. You can say propaganda that isn't good, as in, something that you agree with, or something that is objectively good. Or you can say propaganda that is bad, or at the very least something that you don't agree with. But propaganda just means, to propagate an idea. It's not like, rubbish. It's not a morally weighted word. In this case, however, it is juxtaposing two things here, and it becomes morally weighted because it's just sort of becoming, they spread their propaganda, you spread your propaganda, it's all the same. It sort of implies that a little bit in this line. I don't think he's going to read like that, but if he does, well, it's the line I have, dude.
They can't be everywhere at once. Surely there are radios that still catch our message here and there. Surely...
It's not that it's not getting out, it's that the people who hear it don't care. It is that, but it's also this. It's both of these. But, so the question becomes, what do I want to tell him? I'm going to say the first. I've been around the colony, and I've never heard it.
Excuse me. I'm from Edgewater on Terra 2. If you'll pardon my saying, nobody I know's ever heard of you.
All the more reason to double down on our efforts.
Graham, we should be focusing on survival anyway. Food, ammo, and medicine. Maybe now's the time to pivot.
Pivot, huh? If radio isn't working, we might try another way. It seems the captain's timing is more than just serendipitous. It must be fate. I've had my sights on an old printing press for some time. The board uses magazines and advertisements to subtly focus the colony's attention. We will use their tricks against them.
Wait, that's not what I meant.
Help me clear out and repair the press, and I will have no need for that rust bucket of a radio tower.
Sounds fair to me. It does indeed. The board has all of television, everything in their favor. We have seen it with our eyes in super blatant terms, so that in this particular conversation we can think of it. And think of things like those posters. Remember those when all those funny, very, very corporate and political styled titles of episodes that like weirdly, they don't happen very often, but when they do, and you can hear them a lot in the news broadcasts and whatnot. The serials are all named after like specific politically charged things, and they're super blatant, like ridiculous. Like I can't remember any specific example, but they're all ridiculous, and they're ridiculous for a point, so that you remember. Because sure, they're telling a story, but his plight over here is all too familiar, and it's very easy for somebody who it's very easy for somebody who's playing the game and hasn't seen his plight elsewhere to just dismiss it as, or not dismiss it, to take it as, yeah, sure, that could work. Fight them with their own weapons. which is specifically, isn't that what he specifically said? He said that even. I think he said it. Double down on our efforts. I don't remember, but I think he said it. But yeah, you can't do that, man. Because the thing is, what happens in this game with the funnily titled episodes of serials and whatnot, that's just a turned up to 11 version of what happens in modern day life, where it's sort of a it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's sort of a cycle. And media, not that media is controlled like this, obviously, in the cases that it isn't controlled, but in some countries it is. And so it's very difficult for somebody, I don't know, living in China who's not specifically out to listen to counter information. Is it counter information? Is that the word? Is that the term? I'm saying this not obviously as not as a Chinese citizen, obviously, but as somebody who grew up listening to stories of people here in Portugal who lived in a fascist dictator system, and they basically, the propaganda is everywhere, and it wasn't as everywhere as it can be today in 2020, because there was no internet and television wasn't very common. But just there's no way for a counterinsurgent sort of group like this to break through that propaganda. Because even if you had as much resources and as much access to everybody, you'd still be clearly the outlaw. And again, when I say the outlaw here, always very conscious about what that means. It's just somebody who goes against what the ones in power say is correct. But he would still be the outlaw. So even if they were on even terms, it wouldn't work. Because never, at the best of chances, you'd get half the people. And you wouldn't, because they are not playing by the same rules either. Because their propaganda doesn't have to be true. It just needs to be effective. And when you need to only be effective and not be true, you're not bound by anything. You will say whatever you have to say to convince people. Because that's all that matters in your speech. And if you're saying stuff that is true, or that you think is true anyway, you're bound by limitations, so it's just not as effective. It tends not to be as effective. Can you imagine explaining why, complex political terms and political realities are a problem in our modern day just through propaganda to people who have been living all their life and depending and benefiting all their life from the political system that they live in and lived in through all their life, just with propaganda? You can't do that. If they're not out to get you, it's impossible. But still, it's quaint, it's funny, and I don't think it will work. But it sounds fair to me.
Wonderful. I requisitioned replacement rollers for it some time ago. Huxley should have delivered them yesterday. Speaking of which, where is Huxley?
You bought rollers? You haven't even cleared the wraps out yet. What are you doing wasting bits on... Wait, where is Huxley?
It seems we're out a runner. If you intend to help our cause, I'll ask you to meet our MSI supplier in her stead.
MSI supplies you?
One of our sympathizers. A woman named Carlotta periodically buys goods on our behalf from Stellar Bay's store. Stellar Bay has caught on, but they remain friendly, though the goods now come at a considerable markup.
Where's the supplier?
She meets us in the ruins of Bayside Terrace. From our compound, follow the road north.
Alright, I'll be back.
Wonderful. While you're at it, I wonder if Carlotta still has those high-capacity cartridges? Grab a few, will you? There should be some funds left over from the last shipment. We can use them to copy and modify radio serials. Yes, not just magazines, but their precious dramas.
Unbelievable. I hope I don't have to tell you this, but if there is extra money, would you mind buying, I don't know, food and medicine? Graham, if you need me, I'll be in triage.
I don't think it's a zero-sum game. I'll see you later, Zora. Get high-capacity cartridges or extra supplies. Or, the game is telling us very clearly that there's no middle ground here. So it is definitely a zero-sum game. Anyway, that's where we're going, and that's where we're going next episode, because we're out of time for the day. So, for right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been The Outer Worlds. I really hope you've enjoyed it.
Amber Heights.
Everybody here looks wore out. Is it just me?
I don't know if he said anything. And wore out. Parvati, do you need to make yourself even more likable than you already are? God damn it. Anyway, see you next episode.